Hey everyone, welcome. Welcome to Author Spotlight. I am Leslie Cottrell and I'm a nonfiction book coach and I'm also the COO at Victorious You Press. And at Victorious You Press, we help authors bring their stories to life and into the marketplace with our publishing services. And every week we bring you some super captivating conversations with nonfiction authors who are changing the world with their legacy books. And Author Spotlight is all about giving you kind of a behind the scenes look at writing and the publishing process. So grab your coffee and have a seat and let's just dive right in. I'm so very excited today to be with Angela M. Mitchell. She's a woman who is dear to my heart, and she is the author of a brand new powerhouse book that hasn't even launched yet, titled Don't Call Me Crazy, Call Me CEO. Angela M. Mitchell. Welcome, Angela.
I'm always doing stuff. Hello. And you know I'm super excited to be here. How are you and how is everybody out here today? How we doing today?
I hope everybody's doing great and they're going to be so excited that they tuned in because, man, this book is it's something else. And I want to tell you a little bit about Angie. I'm going to read this so I don't forget anything because it's all important. Angie is an international multi-best-selling author, a master digital marketing strategist, and Angie's the visionary behind two movements, soon to become three, I'm sure. The Back to Her movement and the Art of Womanhood movement. Angie empowers women to reignite their passion, rediscover their purpose, and build powerful brands while navigating real-life challenges like bipolar disorder, anxiety, depression. And this new book, Don't Call Me Crazy, Call Me CEO, it's a bold book built for women running businesses while managing their own mental health. And Angie's on a mission to change the narrative. And she is great at a lot of things. And one of the things she really excels at is helping us regain our power as women. So Angie, tell us a little bit about yourself and what originally sparked your writing bug. And then tell us something we may not know about you.
Let me see a little bit about myself. Goodness gracious. Like all of the stuff she said, outside of all of those things, I'm just Angie, man. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm a friend, I'm a sister, and I just love to empower other women. I've been through the fire and I know how very important it is, to bring other women along with you when you get over that hump and over that hurdle. I've been in this online space, oh goodness, for maybe the last 7 years. Really, I kind of popped out. I really popped out, y'all, in like 2020. But I've been dibbling and dabbling and tipping my toe in this online space. Some things you may not have known about me is I am a baker, and I did have a custom cake business a few years ago. I did that for I don't know, a couple years, and I kind of stopped doing it. I've owned a senior care agency, and I was an extreme couponer, y'all. I was an extreme couponer. And so that was like one of my first businesses, my like first business adventure. And so that's really it, man. I'm just, what you see is what you get with me. I'm always 100%. I keep it real. And I just want to be able to impact as many women as I can. I know it's so many folks out here, so many women out here who are daydreaming about starting businesses and writing books and just having a different life. And that's what I know God put me here to do. So that's it. That's me in a nutshell.
And you sure stepped into that, and we're so thankful you did. And I was wondering, okay, and when I ask her that question, is she going to tell me anything I don't already know? Because I thought I knew you pretty well. I didn't know you were an extreme couponer. So
I was. And when
that's
I tell you, because when I get something and I do it, I do it. So I had a group. I don't even know if the group is still here on Facebook, but I had a Facebook group. I had an actual blog, an extreme couponing blog. Goodness, I held classes. I did all types of stuff. I did
wow.
all types of stuff. I really had it, and I saved a lot of money.
I
Made
bet
a
you
few
did.
dollars.
See, you've
And
always been
so,
a
yeah,
marketer before you were even a marketer.
absolutely,
Love it.
absolutely,
Love
absolutely.
it. So I'm curious to know, what was the catalyst or the turning point that prompted you to write this particular book? Now, you can tell us how many books you have. There's quite a few, but there was something that turned that light on for you to write this book. And what was that?
What turned the light on is, let me tell you, my page has been, this page that I'm on has been gone for a while. So I didn't even have the opportunity to share. I'm gonna have to do that soon. The second win. I did not have an opportunity to share that. So a lot of people on this side, on this page, don't even know that I was in that anthology and that I shared a lot more about my mental health struggles and challenges in the second win. And to be honest, that's really what kind of, that was the catalyst. I said, you know what, I need to share a little bit more. At our launch at the book signing, so many women came up to me after we all spoke and talked about our chapters and things, and came up to me and said, you know what, thank you for your transparency, thank you for sharing about your mental health journey. That's something that I've never really done. I've shared bits and pieces, just little bits and pieces, but I never actually shared, like, the messy middle, as which is one of the chapters. I never really shared that part of it, and I did that in the second win, and I felt like it was time for me to really expand on that, because so many women have inboxed me and text me, and in my Facebook group, and they're reaching out to me all the time saying that sound like me. You know what I mean? And that's, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. And so many women were saying, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for talking about it. And so I felt like it was really time for me to write this book. And the cohort was the perfect time for me to do it. And that's what I felt like. Everything just lined up. Everything lined up. You know what I mean? And so I felt like it was the perfect time. It was time to share. There's so much stigma and, you know what I mean, and hiding and sometimes shame around mental health challenges. And I really want to break that, because there's no shame, and there really should be no stigma in that. So I just felt like it was time.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that particular timing, because Angie's talking about an anthology that she and I took part in called The Second Wind. And we did a very cool event that was live, well attended. There was over 100 people at this launch.
Yeah.
And Angie and I happened to be sitting close to one another. And I heard multiple women, as she said, come up to her and touch her arm or put their hand on her back and look, kind of lean in and thanked Angie for her honesty and for her openness, which leads me to the question about this book. Man, Angie, come on. You are so raw, so vulnerable, so open in this book. You just don't hold anything back. And that's that's one of the things that I love about this, because it's all you. You're not holding anything back, and that's what's going to draw so many women to you. But how did you get comfortable, and maybe you didn't get comfortable with embracing being so open? I'm just going to tell it all. I'm going to lay it all out. Something helped you do that.
Oh goodness. I will say this. The only level of discomfort that I really ever had was kind of sharing it, just like all open, like I'm doing it right now. But as far as that writing piece and being able to do that, like I said, I just felt like the time really was now. I have been on, man, this whole spiritual journey for, and I mean intentionally, for at least the last year. And as a part of that, God said to me, However it was said to me, like, it's really time for you to share this part of your story. What you scared for? And my motto is always scared money don't make no money. And when I say it that way, I'm not talking about monetary all the time. I'm talking about the impact. You can't impact nobody. And I could not possibly have said, I want to impact women. I want to make a difference. I want to make a change. There's women I want to help, and then still be afraid to share that part. You know what I mean? God has given me so many opportunities, so many platforms, so much talent, so many. God gave that to me. Who am I to hold that back? Who am I to keep on holding on to that? And so that really was my driving force. Is it was really time. It was obedience for me. You know what I mean? It was simply obedience. It was the surrendering to the reality of the situation, because you can fight it. You know what I mean? We fight our stuff all the time. We fight to accept who we are. We fight to accept what our circumstance or our situation or our life. We fight to accept it. And when you stop fighting and really just accept it and surrender and just have that faith, man, you just coast on through. And so the natural step was for me to share. You know what I mean? In that surrender, in that obedience, that was just a natural step for me.
And they go together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
sometimes we try
absolutely.
to separate them. Yeah. I wanted to say hi to two of the people that are online. We have Janet Jacobs and Miss Lexi
Hey,
Johnson online. And it's very cool that both of those women did the same thing. Both of those
absolutely. Yup.
women wrote books that are raw and open and motivational, instructive, and they both did the same thing.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they were obedient to the gifts that they had been given. So, I know that your goal is to provide inspiration and guidance to women in the marketplace that are faced with the challenges of improving and maintaining their mental health, whether it be anxiety, depression, bipolar, or something else. But I have to say, as a woman and as a reader of this book, there are masterful lessons for me on just about every single page of this book, because you're either healing or
Yeah.
maintaining or uh, what's the word that I'm trying to think of here? Cultivating your mental health at all times.
Yes.
And if it's okay with you, I'd like to share a couple of passages that really stuck out to me in your book. And I say a couple of passages because if I read every single one, we'd be here for 2 more hours and nobody would need to buy your book because I'd probably be reading the whole thing. So I'm going to keep it to just a couple. But man, this one really got to me. Your true strength lies here, not in holding it together all the time, but in letting yourself fall apart long enough to rebuild a stronger, truer you. Can you speak to that just a little bit?
Yes, because that's the absolute truth. We like to show all the good part, the good stuff. You know what I mean? Especially when you look online and you look on the Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and everywhere, all you see is the good stuff, right? You see all of these people and they out here living their best life and they off at lunch and brunch and they cute and they this and they that, but nobody wants to show you that messy part because the transformation is not in that part. The transformation is in the messy part. It's in the darkness. It's in the late nights when you crying. It's in the begging God. It's in the prayer. It's in all of that. That's where the transformation is. And it's in doing the work. That's where your power lies because it shows you just how strong you really are. If you can sit up and if you can get up every day and power through depression, which is what I did. And I know it's women out there that's doing it. If you can get up every day and power through anxiety and get up and get on that meeting when you sitting there nervous and chattering your teeth because you really don't feel like that you good enough, that you look good enough, that your hair is good enough, that you're going to say something, maybe you're going to stumble over your words. Oh, they don't want to hear this from me and this, that, and the other. If you are powerful enough to get up and do that, that's where your power lies. That's where
Mm.
our strength lies as women. That's where that resilience is. And you know what I mean, and that really is what that means. It's the messy part, it's the nasty, raggedy, funky part, but that's where the transformation happens. You know what I mean? I was down there, down there in that funky, dirty, filthy place. But I was able to get up out of there and clean all of that off. You know what I mean? I was able to clean all of that off. And how else can you do it? How else can that happen if you are not powerful in that sense? You know what I mean? If the power isn't there, nobody would get up from anywhere. Right, the same thing I'm looking at. That brings me to the mind of Janet with her book as well. You know what I mean? That's where the transformation is. The
Mm,
transformation was in her going through all of that stuff. That's where you find out if you're strong enough, if you're good enough. That's where you know and you learn, because you're talking to God and God saying, "Girl, what's wrong with you?" Absolutely, absolutely. And for me to, and that's what I had to do. That's exactly what I had to do. I had to brush all of that crap out of my mind and stop listening to myself and hold on to God's word and what God promised me. Right. And that's exactly what that means. That's where your power is, and that messiness.
absolutely. Absolutely. So there's two more here and they relate to one another. And boy,
Mhm.
these two really blew me away. I'm not my diagnosis. I'm a masterpiece in progress. To me, this is worthy of a book unto itself. Just that those two sentences. And I don't just speak of mental health, but really in any diagnosis. I've seen so many people literally like change the trajectory of their life after a diagnosis. And
Mhm.
sadly, I mean, I know a man who died that didn't need to die because he got a diagnosis that paralyzed him,
Yeah.
and and it didn't need to
Yeah.
happen. But we are not our diagnosis. It's just one piece of a very complex picture. But
That's
this is what
right.
you wrote about that. Here's what I have learned along the way: a diagnosis is information, not identity. It's
That's
a
right.
guide, not a prison. And the moment I stopped fighting the label and started understanding it, that's when things began to shift.
That's right. That's right. When you're diagnosed with anything, you get scared. You say, "Not me. How is this me?" And when I got that, I'm like, "What? Bipolar? Who? What are you talking about?" You know what I mean? And so, for a minute there, I hung on to the actual label. Oh my goodness, what are people gonna say if they hear about this? They already called me crazy out here. They already, I'm already this and that, and so that I held on to that part about it. That's all I heard. But then I start doing the research, and I start really, really, really doing the research and looking at my symptoms. Being able to, I mean, right now I can actually time to the letter when I know there's a manic phase coming in, there's a depressive phase coming in, there's an even phase coming in. That's where the information comes in any diagnosis you have. And so I had to learn to capitalize on it. I had to learn to live within the parameters of, not necessarily the parameters, because I'm out the parameters, but I had to live within that and know and understand, okay, yeah, this is the word, but this is the information, and this is what I can do with this information. So now, the manic part, that's creative. You know what I mean? I can create whatever. I might create a course, I might write a book, I might teach it, whatever it is. During that time, I've learned to use that energy for that. And the depressive and low phase, then I know I just have to rest, but not hide. You know what I mean? Before I would
Right.
hide, I would
It's a big
shrink.
difference. Hmm.
Absolutely. I would shrink, and I would just kind of, ball myself up because I'm just so depressed, blah, blah, blah. No, now I know that I can rest. Now I know that my mind needs rest. My nervous system needs rest. And I recognize that. And so it's just, that's where, it's about using the diagnosis, getting the information on it, and working from that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And when I learned to do that, everything else fell in place, because then I stopped feeling sorry for myself. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
stopped feeling sorry for myself, and I said, you know what? I can move forward in everything else I'm doing. I'm not going to let this hinder me. I have the information I need. I now understand what's going on and what's been going on with me for years. And now I know how to maneuver and work through that. And that's it.
It's amazing just that concept that you were able to step into learning to use it as a tool,
Yes.
not a box. So
Yes.
good on
Yeah.
you, Angela. It's amazing. So let's shift a little bit into the writing process because I know we're supposed to talk about that too, and I could talk about your book all day long. Um, So for you, what is your writing process like? Is it defined? Is it systematic? Is it organic? Now, I know this book was written in our in our cohort, right? And
Yes.
so, if you know anything about our cohort, which you may or may not know, you have a very short window that we give you to
Mhm.
actually write the book. So that's probably a little different animal than writing another book. But talk us through a little bit about how you, Angela, like to write when you're actively writing a book.
Oh goodness, my writing process is crazy. It is there's no schedule. There it really isn't. It pops in my head and let me sit down and write it. And that's, I mean, to be honest, because for me to actually say I'm about to sit here and write this book and I'm gonna write it, I can't do it that way because my mind simply doesn't work that way. I'll be sitting here like, what am I doing? I really have to do it when it comes to me. This book, I had been talking to John. I didn't think of that. This was the title, but this was always going to be the book. When she said, "Well, you need to write a business book of whatever," and to me this is a business book, but it's a different, you know what I mean, it's a different side of the coin. And
Yeah,
so I kind of was writing it, and then I'll write, I'll stop, I'll write, I stop. But I couldn't do that with this cohort. I couldn't do that
right.
with the cohort because we had such a tight window. And so, like I said, I really didn't have necessarily a process, but every single day I made sure I jotted something down, because the when I get those, when my mind gets to going, it goes. But like with the mania, it doesn't happen and it's just like 1 week. It could be 2 months. You know what I mean, or
Yeah.
whatever. And so I just rode that rate that wave, and thank goodness I was in a manic state when it was time to write that book, because I was able, every day to get I would use my iPhone notes. And so when something
Mm.
popped in my head, the messy middle popped up. That whole thing is in my iPhone notes. And when it comes in here, I just, I get to writing, and then I'll just put it all together. You know what I mean? Put it all together and just build it out that way. But like
Yeah.
I said, for me, it's hit or miss. Y'all don't go with my method.
Yeah, but it's good
Don't
to
go
hear
with
that.
my method.
It's
Huh?
fine. No, your message good because everybody's different, and that really systematic approach is power to so many
Yeah.
people, and it's
Yeah.
poison to just as many, right?
Yeah.
It's really what it's about, I think, because you've got to honor the person that you are. It's about figuring out. Now, you're not making an excuse, you're not being lazy, but you're
That's
finding out
right.
what really does work for you, and that's what you stick to. Don't
Yeah.
feel like because, Jesse writes this certain way and oh my gosh, look at how organized she is. That's amazing that it's going to work for you, but
Yeah.
you find your way and you'll probably find out you're just as productive as Jesse, just in a different
In a
way.
different way. Absolutely.
But that's
Absolutely.
why it's good to hear about how everybody does it because something in there is going to be your way when you're trying to
Hmm.
figure out how you want to get a book out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, did you face self-doubt as you were writing this book and if you did, how did you power through that and get to the other side of it?
I did a little bit, and not the doubt was, girl, now what did you get yourself into talking about you gonna write this doggone book when you know you doing this and this and you got all these things going on? Because the flip side of having all that energy to do stuff is when you're in a manic phase, at least for me, you start a whole bunch of things, right? And sometimes you finish them, sometimes you don't. And so that had crept in on me because I had started a bunch of different things, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh no, how am I going to do this, and this? And I had to reel myself in. I really had to reel myself in,
Mhm.
and you know what I mean, to kind of nail down my focus for this right here. So that's exactly what I had to do. And then, like I said, it's not that I necessarily would schedule anything, but I really made it an intentional priority that every single day, whatever my notes were, whether they were in this phone or in my journal, wherever I had them at, I had to put them together, right, to make sure that I got things done in time for the deadline. So that's, what That's just really how I had to do it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
if I'm interpreting this correctly, then in this case, for this book, the cohort kind of held your feet to the fire and helped
Yes.
you push through those moments of self-doubt.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. Because I knew, you know what I hear, Joan in the back of my head. I want to hear it. 11:59 now. I must admit, y'all. I must admit, I was late, y'all. I was late. I
a
was
little
late.
bit.
I was late, and let me tell you, I was finishing up, and I think one of my chapters was building a business that honors your brain. And I had to actually do that because I will sit up and I just kept going and going. I had got to the point where I was just trying to get it all in. And then I was exhausting myself. So I really had to stop.
Mm.
I really had to stop. And I got it in the next day, but I was late, getting it in. Because you know, sometimes no matter what your routine is, no matter what your intention is, sometimes your brain just take over and
Yeah.
sometimes it wins. And that's exactly, it wins for a little while. And it won for that moment. But I really had to go back and reevaluate again because my feet were to that fire and I knew that I had to get this thing done. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you ever work with Angie and you don't get something done that she's looking for in the appropriate amount of time, you get googly eyes texted to you. So I think you were worried about getting the googly eyes from Joan on
Yes, I was in the eyeballs. You will definitely get eye. If anybody has ever worked with me, y'all know I will send some eyeballs in a minute. Like, what y'all doing? What's going on? Yeah.
So what other role did the coaching and the community and accountability play for you in writing this book?
Oh my goodness. I think
You get
that
all
was
that
one
in
of
the
the
cohort.
Right. I really think it's one of the best attributes of the cohort. Having that accountability, having a group of women you can pop in and say, hey, I'm not feeling this today. I need some help. I'm stuck. I'm here. I'm there. Whatever. Do you have any ideas? Look what I came up with, for my book cover, things like that. Having that group of women to support you in the accountability, like, do you need us to pray for you? Do you need to jump on a call? Whatever the case may be, having that is just that right there is really unmatched because think about it, when you're writing on your own, you don't have that. You know what I
Right.
mean? And just being able to be a part of that group. And it's always like that, no matter what I've joined from Victorious You Press, from my very first anthology to my first, the intensive, to everything. It's just having that group support, having that complete support system, you know what I mean, and that accountability. And usually I'm the accountability person. I've always been the accountability lead, and I'm holding everybody else's feet to the fire. So it's really good to have somebody else hold my feet to the fire. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Just to make sure, like I said, if I got lost or if it, not even just me, but just being able to support the other women as well. You know what I
Right.
mean? Was really cool too. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right. The writing process is a lonely path. And I always
It is.
recommend that if you're actively writing a book, you get involved somehow, right? It doesn't
Right.
have to be necessarily a cohort, but join a writing group or a Facebook group that you can say
Yep.
at 11 o'clock at night, is anybody on? Man, I
Yeah.
need, whatever. But that community
Yeah.
is huge because writing is such a solitary event.
Absolutely.
So now you've
Absolutely.
published multiple times now. What's like the most surprising thing about publishing to you, or what was as you were going through the process? What surprised you most about that publishing process?
It is the amount of and I will say, there's a publishing process, and then there's the VYP way. You know what I mean? And I think that the amount of steps that it really takes to do this thing the right way, to make sure you're producing a really good product and something that you can be proud of. You know what I mean? Something you can be proud of. And I think that really, and even when I did it on my own, I still use those steps, but it's just, I don't know, it was just something different in going through it all together. Um, like I said, the amount of steps, there's a lot to do to make sure you're producing something that's worth, to me, that's worth asking somebody to pay for. You know what I mean? There's a lot of steps that goes into it, from the writing process. And you have to be in the right frame of mind, the mindset process. You know what I mean? The editing, the goodness, the formatting, the book cover. It's a lot. And to, like, even I don't care how many times I've done it, just to still have that, to go through those steps like that again, it's like, man, it's a lot to this. And you know, that really is the surprising part, is how many steps there really are to properly produce a really great product and to get this book out, you know, properly. There are a lot of steps. So that's definitely the surprising part about it. And just the back end, outside of, you know, the publishing piece and getting it on there, just the little you know, the little things, the getting into the Library of Congress, or getting your books into libraries, or making sure you have the proper codes, or getting down into those categories to make sure that your book reaches the proper people. There's a lot that goes into this thing. You know, so that's where the biggest surprise is. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think that was the most surprising thing to me through that process as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
what's one thing that you absolutely hope that readers take away from this book?
Oh man, I hope that you read this book and completely understand that no matter, you know, your brain, yeah, your brain might be a little frazzled, you may be a little stressed, you may be this and that, but you can absolutely build the life and business that you want. You know, it's just a matter of, you got to go inside, you got to focus, you have to refocus and reinvent. Reinvention is an amazing thing. It doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter what stage of the game you are in, it can absolutely be done. And if you really follow some of these steps and tips in this book, if you are struggling with your mental health, if you, and when I say that, you don't have to be diagnosed, you know what I mean, to be struggling with some depression or to be struggling with anxiety. It doesn't mean that you know, that that's just your diagnosis, but it happens. It absolutely happens. And just to know that you can build your legacy, you can build your dream business, you can build a movement, you can build whatever you want to build through all of that. You just have to be intentional. You just have to reframe your thinking, change your mind, change the way you think about yourself, your business, your life. I promise you that if you do those things, and read this book, and read this book, that you can absolutely do and have exactly what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just a matter of you saying to yourself, I know I can do this, and following through and doing it.
yeah, yeah. And one of the things that is so powerful about you is you just don't write a book; you start a movement.
Yeah.
And this book is
Yeah.
going to do the same. There's no doubt in my mind, and it's a needed movement for sure.
Yeah.
So let's. I know we're beyond our time a little bit, but your book launch is coming right up.
Yes. Yes, it
So
is.
talk to us a little bit about that, and how you're using that as a springboard to serve more women.
Well, so my book is launching on October 14th, and it's launching, and it actually is launching. Originally, it was supposed to be launching at 12 o'clock, but I had to have a change of plan. So it's launching at 7 p.m. We're doing a launch party. I want you to show up and show out. But prior to that, I'm going to actually drop the link so that you can download your copy, you know, and be ready for when the actual launch party happens. There's going to be some giveaways. I got a couple of things I want to give away, you know, a couple prizes, a couple of books, some memberships and things like that. There's a video that actually comes. There's a download that you can get on top of your book. There's like a workbook. It's the Fierce Feminine and Fearless workbook. It's an amazing workbook. I
Oh,
used
cool.
it for my virtual summit last year, and I actually turned it into just a nice little workbook. It's not necessarily a companion to this, but it can be a companion to resetting your mindset and reframing your mindset and getting you into that CEO frame of mind. You know what I mean? We're taught a lot of things in business, but we're not taught how to be CEOs, right? That just
Mhm.
kind of, we just come on out here and we do our thing, but there's so many things that come with it. And I think it's important to kind of cover that. So we're going to cover that. And not just in, as you said, I'm starting movement. So not just in this book launch, but also in the Call Me CEO Collective. And so we moving. There are workshops that are coming up. I'm doing an in-person book signing AKA or slash workshop. So it's not just, we're
Right.
launching this book. It's not just that, because this book isn't just, it's a business book. It's a self-help book. It kind of falls all into the line. But I really want women. I really want women to evaluate their mental health, to be kind to their mind, and make sure they're
Mm.
prioritizing their mental health the same way they prioritize their profits. You know what I mean? So that really is what this book is all about. And so book launch night, may look a little different, but it's different for me because I'm a different kind of girl. So, we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a party, and we're going to talk about a lot of the things that are in this book. Like I said, I got some giveaways. My Her Success Society, the monthly membership is back open. I did a soft launch, and so it's free right now for up to 100 women. So I'm going to be dropping some of those links in there. You're going to be able to, we really going to get into Don't Call Me Crazy, Call Me CEO inside of there. And the rest of it, because I always say just the first part of the title, the rest of it is a guide for women running businesses while managing their mental health. And that's just straight to the point, because that's really what this is. So
Absolutely.
I'm really, really, really excited about this project. I really am. And I just can't wait for Lady. I can't wait for y'all to get your hands on it. And yeah, we're going to rock out with this thing.
Hey, I'm excited too. I'm telling you, you are going to change so many lives with this book. You're going to give hope and encouragement where there was none. I think I described to you when I first read the book that it feels like a life ring that's been thrown to women in the storm. And
Yeah.
this is going to change lives. So
Yeah.
tell us, before we say goodbye, what are the ways that we can find you across the board, not just for the launch, but how do we find Angie?
You can always find me at Angela M. Mitchell. Anywhere you're looking for me, you can find me at Angela M. Mitchell. Y'all know, well, y'all don't know. Leslie knows when I teach, I always say if your name is Big Booty Judy in one place, it need to be the same everywhere. So you can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram at Angela M. Mitchell. You can also go on my website at backtoher.org. Join my website. You'll get a download of my 5-step funnel fix, and it'll teach you how to build your own lead generating funnel, so you can be bringing people into your business, into your, if you're selling books, you need a funnel. If you have products and services, you need a funnel. So it's all of those things. And you can connect with me that way.
Love it. Love it. Well, make sure you do that. Go find Angela M. Mitchell online so you are ready for October 14th to get her book downloaded. It's amazing. So
Yes.
thank you so much, Angie, for hanging out with me today. You are, as always, fun and inspiring and motivational, and I appreciate your time so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Bye, y'all.
So if you want to appear on Author Spotlight, just drop me a message. You don't have to be a published author through Victorious You Press. This is just our way of giving back to the writing community. So if you have a nonfiction book you'd like to come on board and talk about, just drop me a message. Thank you so much for your time. Remember, keep writing because your words are your legacy. Have a great day.